What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al, the Postmaster Morrow, and today we're going to do something that we haven't done on the channel before. We're going to do a type of vlog. It was actually my fiance Tori's idea, and basically I'm here at a grappling tournament in Syracuse, New York, about an hour away from where we live, and I haven't done a grappling tournament since 2019. So it's been about 4 years. I think it was early 2020, but still about 4 years. So I'm signed up for 3 divisions. My first match is at 9 o'clock. It's about 8:10 right now, so I'm going to go weigh in and see how we do. So I'll see you guys later. So here we are walking down the street in Syracuse. We have no idea where we're going, so we're trying to find the center for the on center here in Syracuse, figure out where we're going. Yeah, it's going to be a fun experience to get inside. So on the weigh-ins we go yet again. So all the doors behind us to the front of the actual building are closed. So it turns out that there's actually those doors over there at a building entirely on the other side of the street. So the person that works here lied to us because she's like, "Oh, you guys here for the tournament?" "Yeah." "Oh, yeah, you just go through the front." It turns out we don't. So once again, on the way in. So we just arrived at the On Center. It's really, really pretty on the inside. Good morning. How are you? Good.
How are you?
Excited.
Welcome. Restrooms are in the corner if you need them.
Thank you so much.
You open them up.
And then we got the On Center. Cool. So we're walking around the On Center looking for friends. This is the setup we got going on over here. The match, got some kids warming up. My first match is in 1.5 hours, so I am excited to see how it goes. Absolute no-gi. I have a purple belt who is a lightweight, so about 150 pounds. So I'm definitely excited at the moment. You know, got this one to coach me today, so we'll see how that goes. and yeah, let's have fun. And basically when we got there, I saw a couple people I knew, warmed up with my teammate Alex, who's a young man that competed a couple times throughout the day as well. He did really good. He took second for his first grappling tournament at 17 years old. He's such a good talent. Just won his kickboxing match last weekend before this tournament too. And basically the first matches of the day were in absolutes. Now for those of you that don't know, absolute is basically when you have any skill in any size. So I am 260 and I'm technically a white belt, but I can compete against a 115 pound brown belt or black belt. And that's basically what happened. So the first thing I did is I stepped on the mat and I faced off against a guy who was a purple belt. I just started pawing at his head, snapping him down, trying to get him down. I was using my weight and my size because I wanted to win. So I snap him down, spin behind, and then I did an old school catch wrestling trick, although jiu-jitsu players do it all the time too, is you just put your foot out in front of the guy. They go to grab it for like a single leg so they can have some security. Brought my leg back and I tried to work RNCs and rear naked chokes and everything just so I could get him through, because now that I have his arm trapped, I can really start, making it ugly. So I started trying to grind, cross faces and stuff like that and everything so I can get to his neck. But obviously he's a purple belt, he's not going to let me do it, so he's cross blocking really well. After I got back in front of him, I went to go spin behind and I don't know what he did. I think maybe I just didn't cover the shoulder or something, and he got to my back. I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. And so we wind up going out of bounds. We come back in the center and we tumble over and he winds up having my back. But I notice I'm not able to drop my weight to the floor. And the moment that happened, I'm like, oh, he must have a body triangle. So I look down, he's crossing his ankles. And I'm like, that's the number one thing you don't want to do in a rear naked choke situation, is cross your ankles. What happens is you take your own foot and you crank it over his ankles and it becomes an ankle lock. And it hurt a lot for him. And I actually cranked on it for about 2-3 seconds and he tapped. I'm like, oh, cool. I won against a pretty good guy with a very basic mistake. So I figured my confidence was high. I was like, hey, I did a pretty good job. I was up on points, and everything. I'm going to go ahead and, go into the next match, and I'm going to do really well. The next match started, and I noticed there were a lot of really good jiu-jitsu guys from, like, our local area. We're talking to him, and he was my age. He was, like, 24, 25. And they said, man, you tapped your last guy out in, like, under a minute or under 30 seconds or whatever it was. And I looked at the clock. It said, like, he had tapped him in, like, 15 seconds or something like that. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I found out he was a purple belt. Match starts, clap hands, and he sits down. And I don't always know what to do with jiu-jitsu guys that do that, because it is a little different for me. Easy to pin people and keep them there. And you want to test yourself. Go into his world and be a jiu-jitsu player. Big mistake. I basically went on my knees to try and enter a half guard or a knee shield, and it just didn't wind up working out my way. Wound up taking me down from his knees, locking in a tight half guard in a lockdown. I tried to get a kind of like a calf crusher a certain way, not to tap him, but to make him uncomfortable to get off me so I can get to his back or something. Because I knew I was physically much stronger than him as jiu-jitsu went. I knew I wasn't going to just sub the guy if I didn't get to a dominant position. Now, like I said, if strikes were involved, I think I probably could have smashed him to bits and it would have been a completely different story. But obviously, I'm in his world. He's not in mine. Tried to get an underhook, unlock my guard, cuts the full mount. I'm like, okay. And I just basically sat there. I'm like, okay, if I make one wrong move, he's going to get me in either A, an arm bar, B, a triangle, or he's going to try and roll through for an ankle submission again. But he's not going to get me in an arm triangle. He knows that because my shoulders are too big and I'm stronger than him. He's not going to be able to move my arm that easy. Well, he tries smothering me, making it difficult with like Ezekiel chokes and stuff. And I'm not giving it to him. Finally, I want to try and get him in what I know as the electric chair, which is where you reach under, grab the leg up, put it up over your shoulder, and try and roll him over. The moment I did that, and I go to scoop my hips, he just lapped up a triangle choke. And I tried circling around, getting out of it. Just wasn't working. I wound up sitting down, and I tried to fight out of it. I tried everything, locked my leg up and all. I was just out chest, checkmate. I tapped. That was it, and I can't be mad at him for that. I was pissed at myself that I lost because I have not lost in competition for a little bit. I've lost tons of times before, but I definitely got a little salty. My fiance had to talk me off of a ledge a little bit. But I wound up finding out that this guy had won IBJJFs, which is the National Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, in his weight class and in other belt categories too. And then I talked to a lot of people that I know. They're like, dude, he's not just a purple belt. He's like, should be a brown or black belt level guy. He's been doing it. I talked to him. He's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 12. I know I'll meet him down the line somewhere, and I think I'm going to take a bit more of a heavy wrestling approach and try and just pin him down. Then we move on to the gi division, which was definitely something that I haven't done for a very, very long time. First time putting on a gi in about 4 years. Had my absolute match, lost against a brown belt from a local gym. Got caught in the triangle. Felt like I competed like shit, but I haven't done that in a long time. Overall, I'm excited. I have not put the gi on in a while, and it smells like my attic. Yep. So I'm going to apologize to my opponents for that. And hopefully I don't die, because I don't know how these grips work. So we'll see how it goes. So I haven't put on a gi in 4 years. I'm about to do my first match. I have not been this nervous in forever. I don't know why. It's just the gi. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I don't die. The gi division, it was something that I haven't done, and like I said, since I was a senior in college, I did gi jiu-jitsu because that's where a lot of the classes were. That was the only way you got ranked up, and that meant something to me at the time. It doesn't so much now, but at the end of the day, when it came to just purely grappling, I didn't really like the gi because I didn't feel like it helped my MMA experience too well. It felt like it didn't help my wrestling all that much. It was just something fun and different to do. There was no one in my no-gi bracket online, and I figured the only way I'm going to have more than 1 or 2 matches, if I lose the absolute, I'll only have 1 match there, and I'll only have 2 matches in my no-gi bracket, but I'll have 4 in my gi bracket. I went against my first one, and I was so nervous because I didn't know what to do. Just gripped inside my collar. I kept trying to work around it, break his grips. Wasn't working. He was a really strong guy. And so what I did is I basically just shot. I said, you know what, just shoot and see if you can get him off him. Pretty good sprawl also because he had my collar still, and I don't know why I shot when I had no balance. I just basically stayed under him for a second. I said, you know what, let him take your back, just roll him through. So he tried to take my back. I rolled him through. I tried getting on top. He got back on me because he still had a good grip on the back of my collar and stuff like that. And then actually I wound up getting him with an arm spin. It's just a little arm throw from my knees, and I get him over. And that's when I basically work my favorite position, which is knee shields. And they work really well for MMA and grappling because you can just establish really heavy, strong control. And all I did is I basically kept working for a cradle guillotine. And I finally got that. Basically I just kept the cradle, finally got off to the side, hooked my thumb underneath his throat, started cranking. There we go. Guillotine was done. I won my first match. And I think that was more or less an experiencing as far as overall submission grappling, but that gi really negated 90% of my game. I'm not even gonna lie. I just had to basically break his gi grips, and finally I could win. Going into my second match, it was the same thing, only this guy saw my first match and he pulled guard, and he kept trying to get these gi grips and stuff on me, and that really, like I said, stifled a lot of my game, because I could tell I was better than him, but I just couldn't do anything with those gi grips. It was very difficult to do anything. So finally, when I broke the gi grips, I basically said, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to be able to tap this guy because he just keeps grabbing onto my clothes. I'm just going to get points, and I kept going from side control, mount, north-south position. I finally almost got a double wrist lock, or a Kimura for most of you will call it that. I finally get a double wrist lock. I have I'm sitting on his head, basically. My knees are touching the mat. I got the double wrist lock position. I'm trying to get it. I just couldn't because he's grabbing onto his gi and my gi. I'm trying to get my elbow in, you know, to yank him off and everything like that, and it just wasn't working. So I kept going, and then finally I hear my teammate Kyle say, hey, you got 30 seconds left. Just go for something. And I was up ahead by like 15 points at that point. So what I wound up doing is I actually got a mounted crucifix like I would to smash someone out just to get a TKO. I got a reverse double wrist lock, and I wound up tapping him with that, and so that was my second match. Third match was up against a pretty good wrestler from New Jersey. Actually, I feel like I've remembered him from college wrestling maybe, and basically I saw him just out wrestle and outpoint the other guys just by being stronger than them. He kept trying to shoot, you know, high crotches, singles, doubles, and I just sprawled, took his back a couple of times, just spun around. Heavy control, basically, and I couldn't take him down a whole lot because he kept just trying to grab inside my sleeve and everything like that, and it just wasn't working all that well. I just kept doing snap downs. Throughout the entire match, it said like, oh, we were 0-0, the score was, which was weird. So I basically asked the ref, I'm like, well, how does that work? Is there overtime? And he said, no, you're winning. And I said, huh. And it was because the score machine, turns out, like the software they used, wasn't putting it on the display. So I was actually up 6 points to nothing because I had taken his back once, and I had technically got one takedown from snapping him down and getting behind. So it was definitely something interesting. I actually had a bit of an issue with it, saying, well, if it's 0-0, I was more offensive and blah, blah, blah. And then he also had issue with me doing blue belt no-gi division because I was in the white belt gi division. But I explained why Grappling Industries told me to put me in the white belt division because I don't have a blue belt. And that was basically the idea. But because of my wrestling and my MMA experience, I had to go to blue belt, which actually, speaking of that, was a little bit different. The no-gi division, and actually they wound up combining two weight classes. It was our weight class and then the weight class below. So it was 210 to 230 and then 230 plus. And basically everyone I faced was about my size, if not a touch smaller. And actually one guy that they had brought up from the other division was a purple belt, and it was because there weren't really a whole lot of big guys in the tournament. So I was like, oh, okay, so we got you know, technically better guy coming up to the bracket and everything, and then I was going to face off against a friend of mine named Josh, and he's a blue belt, and I remember when he first started training and just how much he's come, you know, and he did really, really good in his brackets as well. He actually took second in both brackets, which was really cool, in his blue belt gi and no gi. So basically when I go into my first matches against that purple belt guy that came up a weight class, and he had beat my friend Josh in the gi earlier. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a tough match, but I felt I was stronger. I was just taking my time, and then once again, I knew I was there to do stuff that I don't often do, and I don't often shoot as a big guy. I know I have really good shots, but I do not often shoot, and so the first thing I did to start the match off, I shot right into a double leg, and this guy got me in a guillotine that was super tight, but he kept cranking it, and instead of being tight on me and putting his weight up, he leaned his body backwards, which took some pressure off of my neck, and I just kept fighting the hand off, you know, peeling the elbow off, you know, just slowly shaking it out, and I finally got it off me, and I just stayed in that knee shield side smash position again. Throughout the entire match, it just kept breaking that and staying heavy on him. Every time he got up, I just pressured him back down, and I basically won. I think the score was like 4 or 6 to nothing because I just passed a couple times and stayed heavy on him because I didn't know if I could tap him. I tried a couple cradle guillotines. I tried a couple double wrist locks. I tried a knee bar once, or a hip lock too, and he was just too good for me in strictly grappling anyway. If it was MMA, if I kept punching, maybe something would have opened up, but obviously that's not the world that we were in. So I eventually just kind of wrote him out, and that was basically the end of that match. That's all it was. So he was tough, really strong, but I just had to be heavy on him. I basically just out-wrestled him, something that I wish I had done earlier in the day against the guy I lost to. Well, then I went up against my friend Josh, and I was really excited for that match because I wanted to see how much he improved, and when I tell you that this guy was like tying up with a bear, he got so much stronger from when I remember meeting him for the first time, and he just improved a lot with his tie-ups, his hand fights, his wrestling had got better, and just everything about him. I was just absolutely, I was really impressed by Josh's improvement. Tying up with him, he just kept clubbing me. I couldn't budge him as much as I could the other guys, and Josh is bigger than me. I think he's about 300 pounds. And he's taller than me too. He's about 6'2", I'd say. One moment where we were going out of bounds, and I kind of stopped wrestling, and he kept going, and he could have taken me down in that situation and would have had 2 points his way, but the referee said we were out of bounds when that happened. I wasn't necessarily grounded. I was working my way back up to defend. But then we go back in the center. I kept trying to work a body lock as best as I could, just a basic S-grip body lock. And finally, he put enough weight into me to say, okay, I can throw him. And I finally just did a basic, a double grip lat drop is basically all I did, or like a little tuck and throw, some people would call it. And I just stayed on top of him. I knew I was in better condition than him. I just compressed him. I tried getting our double wrist lock a lot, tried just being heavy on him, made it uncomfortable, just past the mount, past the guard, just kept flattening him out, because I realized that once again, why I'm not the best at just getting these submissions unless I strike someone to open those submissions up. So therefore, I'm just going to keep establishing dominant controls. The ref has no choice but to keep giving me points. I think I won the match like 8 or 10-0 just because of the different positions I got. Josh kept trying to get up. I just think my overall wrestling is probably what won me that match. But honestly, if I just played the whole jiu-jitsu game with him, I think I probably would have lost. I think he probably could have tapped me. Tell you what, if it were gi, he'd choke me out within a minute, probably, because I don't know gi chokes. And he even said, he's like, well, I think if we did gi, it'd be different. I said, I agree with you. Josh actually in his first match in no gi wound up injuring this guy. I wound up winning by walkover, so they raised my hand, and that was it. And I won the tournament. All right, so no-gi, I got 2 decisions. I got one by, I think, 4-0, and then I got the other one by, 10-0, I think. So I won by decision. I didn't try, because those guys, I think, were a little better at pure jiu-jitsu than me. My game is control and smash, so I just controlled. So I got gold for no-gi, and I just need my gold for gi. I did 2 submissions, 1 Americana, 1 guillotine, and then decision. 0-0. Somehow I won. So guys, it's been 2 days since the tournament's been completed. I had such a fun time. I really thank my fiance Tori for coming up with the idea to do the vlog right on the fly. She's like, you got your camera, it's something you talked about doing for a while, why not start today? And I had so much fun doing it. It was also awesome that we were out in Syracuse too, because that's actually where my fiance and I met. We went to this restaurant that we met at as well, which was absolutely amazing. The food is always great there. It's a Mexican restaurant in Syracuse, downtown Syracuse, which was absolutely awesome. So her and I went there, and we enjoyed our meal together, the same food that we got when we first met. I got to hang out the whole day with her, and it was just awesome. And I want to give a real big shout out to her, because, I was nervous about that tournament, and then every single second I had her, my biggest supporter there, to give me, you're going to do great, you're going to do this, you're going to win the whole thing. And even when I lost and I was down in the dumps, I said, I can't believe I got beat that easy, is basically what I said. She was like, hey, he's really good, keep your head up. Keep your head up, you got 6 more matches to go. You can't be a bump on the log yet. And she was 100% right, because I wound up taking home 2 gold medals, which I was really, really excited about. So overall, I'm happy with how the tournament went. It was definitely something cool. It definitely, kept my competitive juices flowing. I definitely felt like I was going flat a little bit, not competing for so long, since January, since my last MMA fight. So maybe it's something I might get into more, as submission grappling stuff. I know I've been offered like super fights for different things, But I just don't know enough about pure submission grappling to really do that. I really am one of those people that I can't just go and attack submissions. I have to punch you, strike you, make you uncomfortable, grind you out, and then you'll give me the submission is basically how I work. I know submissions. I know submission defense really well, but like I said, it's usually for the sport of MMA. But overall, I'm happy with my performance. I think I did really well. I want to challenge myself more. I don't know if I'll do the gi again, though, because I kind of don't know if it's fair if I did the white belt in the gi, because by doing the white belt in the gi, I think, yes, I don't understand gi grips, and that definitely canceled me out, but I had a lot more knowledge of submission grappling than the guys I competed against, which I don't think was very fair. I even offered to give the medal to the guy that took second. He said no. A lot of fun. I want to get back on the mat with the guy that beat me, because that's just that competitive part of my brain. It's like, I can't believe he beat me that soundly, and that is going to haunt me and resonate with me for the next couple of weeks. So definitely today when I go to practice, I'm going to train a little bit harder and definitely keep those defenses in my head and mind. And hopefully if I ever come across him one more time, I'll actually be able to just do what I usually do, and that is keep you down and not let you move. So that's basically what I'm going to try and do. Although, honestly, he's good enough. He might just find a way out of it and do it again. But I'm going to keep trying, because that's what I always do. I never quit, never give up. I'm always going to be in someone's face. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. Let me know if you want me to do something like this again, and we'll see how it all goes. But for now, thanks for watching your source of combat sports, The Combat Corporation. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode. See you later.